Last week I told you we were doing a two-part study on John the Baptist, and of course this is the second part, and I had it all kind of planned out. You know, I really did. I had this thing planned. I usually get a busy week. The closer we get to Christmas, the busier I get. I've got a couple of projects that were interrupted by this business with Hurricane Sandy, and all of a sudden it's just a little over a week before Christmas and everything's coming together. So I thought, I'm actually going to prepare this sermon ahead of time for a change. Just imagine that. I'm actually going to prepare this sermon ahead of time. And I had it all planned out. I had the exegesis planned out. I had all kinds of Greek words. And boy, you folks are just going to be so impressed with this. And then this thing happens. This thing happened on Friday. You know, I found out about it when I was in the car. I was in the car on the way actually out to Long Beach, Long Island to work. I found out about this thing that happens. I will tell you that the car is actually a good place for me in a lot of ways. The car is a great place for me to think about things. You know, in the car by myself, it's a good place. You know, I can listen to the news, and I can talk back to it, and I can curse back to it, and I can swear, and I can yell, and I can do all these things, and nobody hears me, I think. I can sing along to the radio, and praise be to God, no one can hear me. And I can cry in the car. But this time I was with a friend. Old friend of mine, and you know what happens when men get together? You know, you can't do that. You got to be tough. You got to be manly. So I'm there, and I'm trying to. And I have no idea. I actually have no idea how my friend reacted to this, because we talked a little bit about it. We talked about a lot of things, but I will tell you that inside I was grieving. I was grieving about this. And we got to the job site, and you know, got to set up a couple of tools, did a couple of things, and then I just said to my friend, "Well, I'll be right back. I'll be right back." And about 20 minutes later, I was okay to start working again. This situation, this thing that happens, I would like to tell you is unique. It captures our attention in some ways. It has captured all of the horrible parts of our imaginations. But the reality is that we live in a world of violence. It's particularly horrible when 20 children die, lives that have barely begun. It's horrible that they were in school. It's horrible that this was witnessed by their friends. Friends whose lives are forever altered. I can't imagine such a thing. And yet, statistically, there are 15,000 murders in the United States of America. 15,000 lives are ended violently and abruptly. Most of those we never hear about. We listen to the radio, and the news blithely mentions that the car bomb went off in the Middle East and 40 people perished. And we change the station over for our next song. We are numb in many ways to violence. We are overwhelmed, and yet in some ways we barely notice it. You know that I talk a lot about doing things online. We have kind of a fairly large ministry online. So right after this happened, I get the things coming in from Facebook and the things coming in with the email and things, and some of them are just requests, you know, Pastor, please pray for me. and others, you know, are, yeah, well, if your God is so good, how can you let this thing happen? And so I spent a little bit of time yesterday trying to answer some of those questions, and they're not always easy to answer. This question of evil in the world. But I'll share with you a little bit of something that happened, something I thought about. You see, I guess I know something about bullets. So some of you know that I know something about bullets. And by the way, it doesn't happen to me that much every now and then, but on Friday I got a really bad case of something called survivor's guilt. You see, some of you might know that I have had some encounters with bullets, and in a particular case I was shot 4 times. I was pretty young. I was a young man. I was an even younger man. I guess I'm of the belief that this was part of a gang initiation. And so I was shot 4 times. And I never really had a whole lot of survivor's guilt, but on Friday I had some survivor's guilt. And I found myself thinking, God, why should I have survived that? Why should I have survived that thing? Basically, there are 15,000 violent deaths in this country every year. I'm willing to guess that at least half those people are more deserving to be alive than me. Why should I survive? Well, I'm pretty certain I'm not going to get an answer to that question in this life. But there was something that I became very certain of, I was reminded of. You see, when that incident happened, one of the things that was very clear to me was that every bullet shot that I felt, Jesus felt as well. Whatever fear I felt at that moment, Jesus also felt. But Jesus also felt the frustration of my attackers. He felt their fear. He felt their anxieties. Jesus died for all. Jesus carried the sins of all, and Jesus feels the pain of the sins of all. So the first thing I had to say to some people who wondered, how can a loving God allow this to happen? The preface to any explanation has to begin with, God felt pain that those children felt in their last moments. It's kind of tough to put those words together, isn't it? Children and last moments. It's hard to put it together, it's not. Jesus felt that pain. I suppose that pain was far exceeded perhaps by the pain their parents are feeling right now. Jesus feels that pain as well. Someone asked me, will those children all go to heaven? And will the man who shot them go to hell? And what may be a little more difficult for us to contemplate is that when that man finally turned the weapon on himself, Jesus felt that pain too. And I guess that brings us to today's text. That brings us to today's text. Last week, if you recall, we heard about John the Baptist, the voice of one crying in the wilderness. John the Baptist who said, prepare the way of the Lord. He's quoting these beautiful words by Isaiah. Make straight the way of the Lord. And finally he concludes that quotation with, and all flesh, not just some, all flesh will see the salvation of our God. And that was the end of of last week's text. And this week's text begins with what? You bunch of snakes! You brood of vipers! Who's he talking to? You can look at it and discover it simply says the crowds were coming out to John to be baptized. And he said to them, all of them, every last one of them, not just the Pharisees who might be coming, oh, let's go see the new act in town. Not just the tax collectors, not just the soldiers, not the hookers, not the thieves. All of them, you brood of vipers. The self-same people that will see the salvation of God. Now, you might say, okay, Pastor, this is all very interesting. This is okay, I get it. I'm a viper. I'm a snake. I'm a snaky kind of guy. Yeah, Norman's kind of snaky. Norman's kind of snaky. I guess Al is too. I don't know. I mean, that'd be kind of a difficult to move around snake, but he's kind of snaky. Maybe even Gert is snaky. I don't know. Are you snaky, Gert? I don't know. We're all kind of snaky. We're a brood of vipers. Okay, I get it. Well, you see, here's the thing. Here's the thing that hit home, and it hit home so hard, it almost knocked me over. The governor of Connecticut said, evil. Evil came to our state. And the dean of a cathedral said something similar. And a lot of people have been saying that evil came to Connecticut, evil came to that town, that peaceful town, Newtown, Sandy Hook. Evil came there. And I guess ostensibly they're right. It's evil. What happened is beyond evil. It's beyond horrific. It's almost inconceivable. And yet, the very fact that we consider this to be so outstanding, so unique, shows how blind we are. Shows how snaky we are. To paraphrase the theologian Tony Bartlett, to say that evil came to that town, and point our finger and say, well, that man, he was evil. Or his mother with the guns. You know, mom keeping assault rifles in the closet, well, she was evil. Or what happened to dad? Or grandpa, or they were evil. Well, that kind of thinking is saying, they're evil. And we're not. Because we listen to God. That's to use God as an alibi. And by the way, to give the devil an alibi. Brothers and sisters, this is not the first time this has happened. And unfortunately, though I pray it's different, it's not the last time this has happened. This is going to be in our minds. It's going to be in our memories for a little while. But those of us who were not directly affected will move on to finish up our Christmas shopping and go to our Christmas parties. And then we'll go to our New Year's parties and we'll make our New Year's resolutions, which we won't keep anyway. Well, we won't. I've made some New Year's resolutions. How's that working for you, Pastor? And it will become a horrible thing that recedes into our memories until the next time. And we'll bemoan the fact that there are evil people in the world, and we'll bemoan the gun control laws or the lack of gun control laws. We'll will happen again. Sure as my